Have you ever wondered why a woman can be sitting just a few feet away, saying nothing, yet somehow you feel the weight of her attention pressing on you like a secret? It isn't loud, it isn't obvious, and that's why most men miss it. The truth is, attraction in women rarely begins with words. It begins in silence, in the smallest, most fleeting signs that slip under your radar because you're too busy looking for the grand gesture, the movie scene confession, the obvious signal. But real female attraction, it hides in subtle, almost invisible cues. And the man who can read them doesn't just notice women differently, he lives differently. Because he stops chasing what's not there, and he starts recognizing what is. Imagine you're at a cafe. You're lost in your laptop when you glance up and catch a woman looking at you. But here's the trick. It isn't the first look that matters, it's the second. Most men see a woman look once and convince themselves it was nothing. But when she looks away, then back again within seconds, that's silent attraction. She's giving you just enough of a window to test if you'll notice. If you do nothing, she'll retreat into safety. If you overreact, staring, rushing over, you've exposed your hunger. The move here is simple but powerful. Meet her eyes for just a second longer than comfort allows. Then look away with calm indifference. That tiny act says more about your self-possession than 1,000 words ever could. Another sign hides in her stillness. When a woman is around a man she isn't interested in, she'll be busy scrolling her phone, fiddling with her drink, keeping her body in motion as a shield. But when she lingers near you without purpose, when she doesn't need to be there but chooses to remain, that's her attraction working in silence. She's creating opportunities for collision, hoping proximity will spark your initiation. A woman's presence around you without necessity is one of the loudest forms of quiet interest. The strategy here isn't to jump the moment she hovers, it's to hold your ground, let her linger, and test her consistency. If she stays, you know she's not just passing time, she's waiting on you. Pay attention also to her micro adjustments. A woman's unconscious tells are more reliable than her words. If you enter a room and her posture changes, she straightens her back, tilts her chin, or suddenly adjusts her hair, she's silently announcing her awareness of you. She won't say it outright, but her body betrays her. The trap for men is to miss these details and assume she's doing it for herself. Sometimes she is. But when the timing coincides with your presence, don't be blind. Silent attraction lives in those seconds when she unconsciously prepares herself to be seen. The tactical response: don't rush to compliment her, don't verbalize what she's trying to hide. Instead, mirror her energy, improve your posture, adjust your frame, silently signal that you noticed without giving her the reward of a verbal acknowledgement. Here's something even more subtle. A woman shows attraction not just in what she does, but in what she avoids. When she's drawn to you, she won't risk embarrassing herself by being loud or reckless in your presence. She'll lower her voice. She'll measure her words. She'll avoid openly flirting with other men in the same space. Silence is not emptiness. It's restraint. And restraint is a powerful clue. Men mistake this for disinterest, when, in reality, it's the opposite. She's pulling herself back because she fears giving herself away. The counterplay: resist the urge to fill the silence. Let it stretch. Let her tension grow. A man who can sit in silence without scrambling to entertain her will always outclass the man who tries too hard. But here's where men lose themselves. They start hunting for these signs in every interaction, turning women into puzzles to be solved. That obsession flips the power dynamic. Remember, silent attraction isn't an invitation to chase, it's an opening to test. So instead of asking, "Does she like me?" flip the question to, "Does she stay consistent in showing these signals over time?" A single glance means nothing. A repeated pattern means everything. And when you see consistency, that's when you act calmly, confidently, with no rush, because attraction already exists. Your role isn't to build it out of thin air. It's to respond to what's already silently alive. Silent attraction is dangerous for men who crave certainty. You want her to say it out loud. You want the obvious, but the obvious rarely comes. If you can't read the silent language, you'll waste years chasing words that never arrive. The discipline is learning to trust the quiet patterns, to stay detached enough to observe, yet bold enough to act when the signals align. That's what separates the men women chase in secret from the men who spend their lives begging for answers. Now, let me ask you directly, have you ever missed these signals because you were too focused on what she said instead of what she did? Have you ever looked back and realized a woman was quietly interested? Only after it was too late, or worse, have you convinced yourself she liked you when in reality she was just being polite. Be honest in the comments. Think about the last time you were in a group setting, maybe at a party, maybe just hanging out with friends. You weren't even talking directly to her, yet somehow you could feel her eyes lingering on you longer than anyone else's. Not constantly, not enough to be obvious, but in fragments. She'd glance when you spoke, look away the second you met her gaze, and then check again when she thought you weren't aware. That's silent attraction at its most dangerous, the stolen glance. Most men dismiss it because it isn't loud. But here's the truth. Women rarely risk direct stares unless they're comfortable. So when her eyes keep finding you, even if only for seconds, that's her revealing interest while keeping her cover intact. The tactical move here is restraint. Don't jump across the room to address it. Don't give away that you're desperate for her approval. Instead, give her just enough acknowledgement, a smirk, a calm look back, and then go back to your world. That subtle act flips the dynamic. She tested you with silence, and you pass by being unshaken. Now, let's get even sharper. One of the most underestimated forms of silent attraction is her selective attention. In group conversation, notice who she listens to with half an ear and who she focuses on fully. If she repeats your jokes to others, if she tracks your reactions more closely than the rest, that's attraction. It's not always about laughter or smiles. It's about priority. A woman who finds you attractive will filter out the noise to lock onto you, even if she's trying not to show it. Here's the psychological trap. Men often confuse friendliness for interest, but the distinction lies in how much attention she sacrifices. Friendly women spread attention evenly. Attracted women redistribute it disproportionately toward you. So test this, speak less, and see if she still tracks you. If she leans in more when you finally speak, you've confirmed her silent pull. Another layer is her nervous stillness. Attraction unsettles women in ways they don't want to admit. Have you noticed how some women suddenly get quiet around you? Not because they dislike you, but because they don't trust themselves not to reveal too much. That silence is a shield. She's afraid that if she speaks too freely, her tone or words will betray the emotions she's trying to control. A woman who suddenly withdraws into calmness when you appear is not necessarily disinterested sometimes. It's exactly the opposite. The strategy here is patience. Don't fill the silence with nervous chatter. Let her wrestle with her own restraint. In time, she'll either open up, or her body language will break down enough to expose the truth. Either way, you maintain control by not forcing the reveal. Here's a practical scenario every man has faced. You walk into a room, and suddenly she adjusts her posture, her hair, or her clothing, not dramatically, not like a movie scene, but small adjustments, tucking hair behind the ear, shifting her shoulders, smoothing her outfit. These aren't random. They're unconscious signals that she's suddenly self-aware because of your presence. She may never admit it, but her body just betrayed her attraction. The wrong move here is to comment, "Did you just fix your hair for me?" That destroys the subtlety and makes you look needy. The right move, adjust something on yourself. Fix your cuff, square your shoulders, roll your sleeves. You mirror her without words, creating silent rapport. She feels the connection, even if it remains unspoken. Silent attraction also shows in the way she positions herself. If she consistently chooses spots within your line of sight, or drifts closer than she needs to, that isn't coincidence. A woman who has no interest in you avoids unnecessary closeness. A woman who's drawn to you subconsciously seeks your orbit. It might be as subtle as sitting 2 seats away when she could have sat anywhere else, or lingering in your general direction during breaks. Most men dismiss this as random placement, but if you map her choices over time and see a pattern of proximity, you'll realize she's silently arranging opportunities. The counter strategy is key. Don't immediately bridge the gap. Let her come closer more than once. Consistency matters. One appearance is random. Repeated proximity is attraction. But let's confront the danger here. Many men misread politeness as silent attraction. Women can be naturally warm, attentive, and kind, and that's where weak men lose themselves. They confuse basic humanity for desire. That's why you must always test her signals. Does she invest energy into maintaining them? Does her silence stretch toward you while ignoring others? Does her body betray awareness specifically in your presence? The battlefield isn't in what she does once, it's in what she does repeatedly when you're around. That's how you separate genuine attraction from surface-level friendliness. And here's the real cost when you fail to read these signals. You either chase women who were never interested or ignore women who were silently offering themselves. Both cost you years of your life. Both leave you wondering what went wrong, why she pulled away, or why you missed your chance. Mastering silent attraction isn't about tricks, it's about discipline. It's about learning to see the hidden game women play and refusing to let ignorance rob you of clarity. So let me ask you directly, have you ever mistaken politeness for interest and embarrassed yourself by over-pursuing? Have you ever ignored a woman's repeated subtle signals because you convinced yourself she didn't care? Or worse, have you ever realized years later that a woman you thought was out of your league was quietly waiting on you to act? Share your truth in the comments. There's a moment every man has lived through but rarely talks about. You're in conversation with her, maybe at work, maybe at a casual gathering, and suddenly she touches something not you, but herself or the space around her. She grazes her neck when you speak, fiddles with her jewelry, runs her fingers across her lips as you explain something. These are displacement cues, unconscious releases of tension. Attraction builds pressure, and the body leaks it through small, seemingly meaningless movements. Most men dismiss it as habit, but habit doesn't trigger at the exact moment your presence shifts the air. A woman touching her neck while holding your gaze is not random. It's a silent confession. The strategic response is not to pounce or comment, but to stay grounded. Let her tension simmer. By staying unmoved, you force her to sit with the very attraction she's trying to suppress. Now, let's talk about laughter. Everyone knows a woman laughing at your jokes can be a sign of interest. But real, silent attraction isn't in the loud bursts of laughter. It's in the controlled smile she tries to hold back. Have you noticed when she covers her mouth? When her laugh comes softer around you than around others? Almost like it's reserved. That's not performance. That's vulnerability. She's revealing a piece of herself she doesn't want everyone else to witness. And if her humor shifts, if she echoes your phrases later, repeats your mannerisms, that's attraction bleeding into imitation. The tactic here is subtle reinforcement, not a needy "oh." You like my jokes, but a calm, self-assured delivery of humor without expectation. You let her keep mirroring, and over time, her silent mimicry becomes undeniable proof of her pull toward you. Another layer men miss is conversational silence. She doesn't always know what to say, so she lets pauses linger longer with you than with others. That space is uncomfortable, yet she doesn't rush to fill it. Why? Because the silence itself holds intimacy. Around men she feels nothing for. She'll keep chatter safe and predictable. But with you, she risks the awkwardness of saying less, because she wants the moment to breathe. The mistake men make is to panic and smother that space with nervous talking. Silence isn't your enemy. It's her way of signaling that your presence alone is enough. Hold it, let her fidget, let her eyes dart and her breath give her away. In those spaces, attraction is loudest. Proximity carries another silent truth. Watch how she handles the smallest distances. If she brushes past you but doesn't pull away quickly. If she lets her knee linger close under the table. If her hand rests near yours longer than necessary, these are calibrations. She's measuring your reaction without risking explicit rejection. A woman who feels nothing will maintain invisible barriers. A woman who's drawn to you will blur them in small, deniable ways. Your counterplay, don't move first. Don't collapse the space she cautiously offers. Let her touch stay unnoticed. Let her proximity sit until she either retreats or escalates. That discipline forces her to reveal just how far her silent attraction wants to go. Here's a powerful truth women fear being exposed more than they fear being ignored. Silent attraction is her shield. She wants to give you enough to test your perception, but not enough to put herself at risk. This is why she hides behind group dynamics, behind politeness, behind deniability. And this is where most men fail by rushing to make her subtlety explicit. The second you say, "You like me, don't you?" you've destroyed her cover and forced her into defense. The masculine response is different. You don't need to call it out. You simply allow it. Match her energy without breaking the mask, and act decisively only when the consistency becomes undeniable. That's how you maintain control. Picture this scenario. You're talking in a group, and she interrupts herself mid-sentence to check your reaction before continuing. She doesn't need your approval for the story she's telling, yet she glances to see if you're listening. That microsecond of validation seeking is silent attraction disguised as casual interaction. Or consider when she teases others, then looks at you to gauge if you're amused. That's her making you the unspoken authority in the room. The wrong move is to shower her with approval. The right move is to stay selective, reward her with attention sparingly. So she keeps offering more subtle cues. When your approval is rare, her attraction deepens because it feels earned, not given. And here's the cost of blindness when you fail to read these signs. You spend your life believing women don't notice you, when in reality, they've been signaling under your nose for years. Or worse, you overcompensate by chasing too hard, smothering women who were only curious, not committed. That blindness drains your energy, makes you bitter, and convinces you that attraction is random, when in truth, it follows patterns written in silence. So let me ask you, have you ever caught a woman mirroring your mannerisms without realizing what it meant? Have you ever filled silence with nervous chatter, only to later sense she was more comfortable with the quiet than you were? Or have you pulled away too soon, thinking she wasn't interested, when, in reality, her every micro cue was pointing toward you? Share your story in the comments. There's a particular kind of silence that rattles men the most. It isn't the absence of words, but the absence of rejection. She doesn't push you away. She doesn't tell you to stop, but she also doesn't explicitly invite you in. She lingers in that grey space, letting her eyes find yours across the table, brushing past you just close enough to be felt, lowering her voice when speaking directly to you. This isn't coincidence. It's controlled ambiguity, a form of silent attraction designed to protect her pride while giving you openings. And here's the truth most men refuse to swallow: she will never spell it out. If you can't learn to see the invisible threads, you'll miss the game completely. Attraction for women isn't fireworks, it's tension. She builds it and waits to see if you're man enough to feel it without collapsing into neediness. Think of how she uses her phone when you're near. Around men she doesn't care about. She'll bury herself in the screen, shielding herself from engagement. But when she's attracted, she'll pretend to check her phone, but her ears stay tuned to your words. She laughs at something you say, even when you weren't speaking to her. That's silent attraction, her attention leaking through her disguise. The move here is never to call it out. Oh, you were listening to me. That cheapens the moment. Instead, you act as if her attention was expected. You assume the role of gravity, not the role of the entertainer. Let her subtle focus become normal, and she'll keep giving it without realizing how exposed she is. One of the most overlooked cues comes when she remembers small details you never expected her to. She recalls the band you mentioned in passing, the way you take your coffee, the offhand story you told weeks ago. She brings it up quietly, almost like it slipped. That's not just memory, that's investment. Women don't catalog random facts about men they feel nothing for. Silent attraction shows itself in the way she notices, the way she files you away in her mind as significant. Your strategic response: don't gush with surprise. Don't say, "Wow, you remembered that." Say it as if it was obvious. Of course you'd remember. That one line flips the script. You've just told her that her attention is not extraordinary, but expected. And that expectation draws her deeper, because you've silently positioned yourself as a man worthy of being remembered. Another signal comes in the form of subtle defense. When another man's attention drifts toward her, watch how she behaves if she's drawn to you. She may politely acknowledge the other guy, but her energy stays tethered to your presence. She might shift her body so she still faces you. She might laugh with him but glance back at you. That's her silently declaring preference without open confrontation. It's protection. She's guarding her attraction from dilution. The weak man sees her interacting with others and assumes she's not interested. The perceptive man sees her divided attention and recognizes the hierarchy. And the way you handle it matters. Don't sulk. Don't compete. Stay centered, calm, unbothered. Your indifference communicates more strength than 100 witty lines ever could. Silent attraction also shows in her time. If she's always busy around you, she's not interested. But if she creates space, even subtly, that's the truth. She lingers after conversations when she could have left. She stays in the same place longer than she needed to. She slows down when walking past you. Time is her most valuable currency, and if she quietly spends it near you without reason, she's signaling. The masculine strategy is patience. Don't reward her too quickly. Don't rush into her lingering. Let her burn her own time. Let her show consistency. A woman who's truly attracted will keep investing small stretches of time in your direction, long after the first coincidence could have ended. But here's the trap. Silent attraction isn't commitment, it's potential. Too many men see a glance, a smile, a moment of attention and build fantasies. That's where heartbreak is born, not from rejection, but from false assumptions. Silent attraction should be treated like currency, useful only if you know how to invest it. The test is always consistency. Does she keep offering signals, Or was it just once? A disciplined man doesn't act on the first cue. He waits, observes, and only moves when silence has spoken enough times to be undeniable. That's what keeps you in power. And let's be brutally honest, if you ignore these cues, you pay with regret. You'll remember the girl who always sat near you, who laughed softly at your jokes, who seemed to linger but never said a word. You'll look back years later and wonder if you missed the one chance she gave you. And regret is a heavier burden than rejection ever could be. Mastering silent attraction isn't just about winning with women, it's about never living with the ache of what might have been. So tell me, have you ever realized too late that a woman had been signaling interest all along? Have you ever mistaken her defense against other men as indifference toward you? Or do you catch yourself fantasizing on the first glance, only to be disappointed when nothing followed? Drop your story in the comments. There's a reason women rely on subtlety instead of blunt confession. Attraction exposes them, and exposure makes them vulnerable, so they disguise their interest inside habits that look like nothing, until you notice the timing. For example, she accidentally crosses paths with you more often than coincidence allows. Different rooms, different days, yet somehow she appears in your orbit. Most men call this random, but patterns don't lie. If she keeps placing herself where you can see her, where interaction is possible, she's silently saying she wants the door open. The strategy isn't to confront her with it or gush about fate. The strategy is to stay calm, let her presence normalize, and then create controlled opportunities for her to reveal more. You don't leap, you let the pattern prove itself. Another hidden form of attraction comes through her shifts in tone around others. She may be playful, loud, carefree. Around you, her voice softens. She slows her words, sometimes even drops into pauses that make the conversation feel more private than it really is. That's her instinctively creating intimacy without drawing attention. Her silence between sentences. The way she lets your name hang just a second longer, all of it is her body's way of signaling attraction without the risk of exposure. Men who rush past these tonal changes miss the real game. Your move here is to mirror her calm energy, keeping your voice steady, controlled, grounded. By doing so, you lock her into the intimacy she's quietly creating, forcing her to experience the depth of her own attraction more intensely. Then there's her subtle competition. She might not admit it, but when she's drawn to you, she notices other women around you. Watch how her energy shifts if another woman laughs at your joke, or if your attention drifts. She might not speak it, but her silence becomes heavier. She lingers closer, her gaze sharpens, her posture adjusts. That's jealousy without admission. And here's the trap weak men try to reassure her, prove to her she's the one. But strength is different. You don't explain. You don't justify. You stay present, comfortable, and let her navigate her own tension. The man who doesn't scramble for reassurance becomes the man she silently craves, because his power comes from self-possession, not validation. Think of the way she listens. Women who aren't attracted let conversations pass in one ear and out the other, but a woman drawn to you shows it in how she remembers. She brings up something you said casually last week, or she teases you with your own words in front of others. That's not coincidence. That's investment. She's archiving you in her mind. The tactical play here is subtle recognition, not surprise. If you act shocked that she remembered, you lower your value. But if you treat it as expected, you establish a frame she's supposed to remember, because you're not just another man. You're the one who leaves impressions that stick. Another cue is her reaction to your withdrawal. If you suddenly stop engaging, if you step back into silence, does she lean in to fill the gap? That's attraction in action. Women who feel nothing for you won't even notice your absence, but the one who's silently invested will fidget, shift, or create small openings to pull you back in. Maybe she asks an unnecessary question. Maybe she makes a casual remark just to restart the flow. This is where most men fail. They jump back in too eagerly, giving away all leverage. The disciplined move is to respond slowly, measured, never rushing. You confirm her effort while keeping your center. That balance keeps her attraction alive instead of burning it out with overexposure. But here's the deepest truth. Silent attraction isn't about reading women so you can chase them. It's about sharpening your perception so you can choose wisely. Without this skill, you either waste energy chasing women who never wanted you, or worse, you miss the ones who were quietly giving you everything. Silent attraction is the filter through which you separate noise from signal, and once you master it, you stop asking, "Does she like me?" and start asking, "Does she consistently invest her silence in me?" That question alone reshapes your entire experience of women. And let's be clear, this isn't a game of decoding for the sake of conquest. It's a discipline of awareness. Every man remembers the sting of realizing too late that she had been signaling all along. Every man remembers the humiliation of chasing signals that weren't real. You don't have to live blind anymore. You can train your eyes to see, your presence to test, your silence to hold power. And when you do, you'll stop fumbling for answers and start moving with certainty. So tell me this, have you ever caught yourself overreacting to small signs and scaring her away? Have you ever noticed how she shifted her tone only when speaking to you, but didn't act because you doubted yourself? Or have you pulled back and watched her chase the silence you created, share what happened in the comments? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.